He's doing some pass-throughs. Ooh, we're live. Hello and welcome to episode 28 of the Kinetic Koffee podcast, where we bring you tips and tricks to stay fit even when you're stuck at home. Today's topic is you have to be willing to suck. What do I mean by this? Anything, any single skill that you're trying to get good at, if you're not willing to suck at the beginning, you can never develop proficiency in that. So whether we're talking about athletics, music, business, marketing, whatever it is, if your ego is so small that you're not willing to actually suck at the thing that you want to get good at, you can't get to the other side. Anyway, that was my quick monologue. Hi, Josh and Jake.
Hi.
Hola.
Should we talk about what we suck at right now, or should we talk about a time that we have sucked at something knowingly in order to get better?
All of the above.
I've got a few examples.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jake.
Let's dive. Why don't we talk about like the topic itself, if you guys want to go deeper than I did, and then we can talk about past and future. I think that'd be a good way to roll.
All right. Go ahead, Jake.
I definitely agree with this. I think it's a great way to approach a lot of different things. You talked about ego, and ego is one of the biggest things that can hold somebody back from experiencing something new, and being able to put that aside and suck for a while is something that does lead to you maybe even enjoying that thing that you're trying or becoming proficient at it and it becoming a really, really awesome part of your life.
Totally.
Yeah.
What I think about in all this, I'm going to bring up Joe Rogan on this because he talks about it a lot, is learn something new, right? Ultimately, you're just finding something you suck at because challenges are what make us grow, right? So when you talk about ego, if your ego is too inflated to learn something new and stick to the old ways, then you're ultimately just stagnant, right? You're not really trying to progress, better yourself, humble yourself, learning something new. Plus, it makes you a well-rounded person. So finding the things that you suck at and getting better at ultimately boosts yourself up in all aspects, being humble, growth, understanding, sympathetic to people, especially if you're in a leadership position, getting to the empathy state to really resonate with other people and communicate.
Hell yeah. All right. What have you guys knowingly sucked at in the past in order to get better?
Everything. I have a couple examples. Actually, I have a few that come to mind. I was a musician for about 8 years, and I played the trumpet, which is kind of funny. If you guys don't know that about me, people are like, I actually played that. And people like to make fun of me for it, but I did that. And when I started initially, I was terrible. I feel really bad for my parents because I started, when I was like middle school age, and I would try and play in the house. At one point, they moved me out to the garage, and that was my practice space. So I didn't sound terrible. But then I was terrible for probably a couple of years, and then I got better. And I played my way into college. And then the other one I can think of is I had a really crappy car that broke down when I was in college, and my only other option for a vehicle to drive back to college was a manual. So over the course of the weekend, I had to learn how to drive a manual in like less than 2 days, and I managed to get it from my hometown all the way to my college town. And as soon as I got back, I stalled and I killed at a stoplight, and I did that for probably a couple weeks, and then I got better. Right now, my car I have is a manual, and I love driving manual. So
yeah, I miss driving a manual.
Yeah,
that's awesome. For me, the first things that I really enjoyed sucking at something, I would say, that I was, consciously aware of, was probably the first time I learned how to skateboard as a child, right? I think I was 11 or 12. And then I had my dad teach me how to do, at the time it was called an acid drop or something like that, where you go from standing and jumping on the board and then you just learn how to ride it. But I remember I wanted to be really good at it because all my friends were into it and it just looked so much fun. Ultimately, I never got to be that proficient at it, even up into my 20s until I shattered my ankle and couldn't do it anymore. But that was something that I was okay sucking at while I did it. It was just fun to do. It was a pastime. It was the experience of trying to learn new tricks and just keep progressing with it. And then one thing that I really enjoy doing to this day is still one of my passions would be riding dirt bikes. I remember the first time I got on a motorcycle, I didn't know what I was doing. I think I was 9, and I drove it right into a ditch and just hit a wall, and it shot the front tire straight up, and the tank knocked me out. It was all disorienting. That was the first experience I ever had getting on a motorcycle, was just wrecking and probably knocking myself out. So, and then of course, as you grow up, I got a dirt bike when I was 10 years old. My dad got for me, and I was practicing starting off milk crates and shit like that because I couldn't put my feet on the ground. But now, after learning through all that, it's one of my favorite pastimes. So I love starting from new. I love picking up new things, even if it's just a first time thing and just attempting to see what it's like. It's really fun to suck at things. It's very humbling.
That was I had a thought. So on a note of so sucking and then continuing to pursue it until you do better is a huge thing. And on that note, Josh, my parents had we had a dirt bike that my mom used to ride when she was in high school, and they refurbished it. And the first time I got on that thing, I ran into a fence and I tipped over into a foot. That made me think of that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Typically what happens.
Yep.
My little brother did the same thing. The neighbor had a dirt bike and we would ride it around, and he ran it right into a tree stump, went over the handlebars. Unfortunately, he wasn't willing to suck. He was a little too self-conscious. He never came back. But everybody else did, and it was fun. I think a lot of people who live in Colorado, Josh, you said it, definitely have the experience with skiing or snowboarding. And it's just something you do here. What do you just say you do here, right? We have to get better at it. But the only way to get better at snowboarding is to fall on your butt over and over and over again and be bruised and battered. And you just get up and keep doing it the next day. And all of a sudden, guess what? It doesn't suck anymore. You enjoy the powder and you enjoy après ski.
Exactly.
So the reason I chose this topic is I think right now is an amazing opportunity for people to develop skills that they suck at. And we came out hard, when on this podcast, when we went into quarantine, we're a level or two above on this stuff. So we're harping on things like meditation, fitness, nutrition, and we're saying how important these things are to get people to do them. And this is just assumed to us that we sucked at it already. Now we're better at it. So why shouldn't other people go through the same process? But what we kind of failed to say is it's okay to suck. It's okay to suck at having a nutrition habit. It's okay to suck at meditation. And I know every male over the age of 40 thinks it's woo-woo and stupid, right? And they're resistant to doing it. But every single conversation I have with somebody who's been resistant to doing it, they say, well, my mind just wanders and I just can't focus. And it's like, okay, guess what? The Zen Buddha, who's fully enlightened, is the only guy that can actually go for 20 minutes without something else popping into their head. So yeah, it gets easier to let thoughts pass by and stuff like that. But it's an opportunity to get better at something that you suck at or that you wanted to get good at. So people like Jake was saying, if they ever wanted to learn a musical instrument, now is a phenomenal time to do that because we have the opportunity to suck, but embrace the suck. And I lost my momentum here because I just saw another comment. Hold on. Abby says, what is something you guys feel you suck at or are working on each day currently as opposed to your first suck? Yes, we were heading there. We set that one up and we're going there in a second. Okay. So let's just move on now. What do you guys suck at right now that you intend to get better at in the future?
Josh, you go first. I had one, but I lost it. Like I'm thinking of.
There are quite a few things actually. For me right now, I mean, meditation is something that's still relatively new to me. And as much as I feel like I think I understand it and really think I'm good at it, meditation is extremely difficult to figure out at the first point. And it's not until you like understand that the process is part of the meditation, like learning meditation. So I would say that. Wish I had a little bit more time to think about this. This is also on the spot. Of course, we always think about what we're good at, but for me, fitness is always an evolution of learning, right? Coaching. I'm still a relatively new coach. Learning to communicate with people better, to get them to move better is still something that I find that after watching Brian, you know, being with a client, you're like, damn, that's something I compare myself to. And I'm not at that level yet, but it's something I'm striving for, but always constantly trying to better myself. So even the stuff that as a nutrition coach, finding new ways to interact with people, I would say communication would be one that I don't think I suck at it, but I think it's always more development to it, of course. So those are just a few of my things.
All right. This isn't necessarily what I was thinking of because it was really good. Apparently I thought it was really good. But for me, one of the hardest things, it goes along with what you talked about meditation, which actually made me think of this, is being present. I notice now that like the more that I've like, you know, those practices where I breathe and things like that, that I am not as present as I thought I was. And I definitely suck at it. And it's something that, you know, like it's one of those things too where you like you catch yourself in the moment not being present, you're like deep in thought, or you're like doing something. Like I just got done cooking like 5 pounds of steak. I think about halfway through that, I totally zoned out and I was just kind of moving. And I don't even know, I was thinking about other things that were going to happen. But then like, you know, I get frustrated at that point, but now I'm working on like not getting frustrated and trying to like come back to the moment and just be here. And that's like one of my biggest things I'm working on right now. I think that's I think that's it.
Yeah, I think it's easier to point out your accolades than your struggles, right? So, of course, we're always in this mindset of staying to the stuff we're more proficient at and not really like thinking about the humbleness of sucking at things. So this one's a little bit more difficult to think about, right? Because we're constantly projecting ourselves to a state where we think we're better than we are, you know, instead of just being in the moment and really being honest with ourselves.
But it gives embracing the suck a whole lot more meaning, right? Like most people think of it in terms of like a hard workout. I'm going to embrace the suck when I do Murph, but that's not what we're talking about. Like we're talking about fucking owning it, right? Like mine right now, my biggest one is parenting. Okay. I suck at being a dad. I am the worst, right? And I was up all night with Jackson teething. I don't know what the hell to do. Katie's at work, right? I hold him. He stopped crying, and then I put him down. He starts crying again. I feel like a bad person, and I'm like, I really, really suck at this. So like embracing it is more like just owning that I do, and it's like, yeah, I can read all the books in the world, but it's like this ever moving target, and it's just it's difficult, and it makes me feel like Josh mentioned coaching, and I actually think compared to the best coaches in the world, I suck at coaching still, right? But I think about the things I did when I was first starting, and that really sucked, and now I kind of suck. So I think it's just an evolution of sucking less until you die.
Yeah. It's always progressing, right? There's never a moment where you're like the ultimate at something, unless you're an Olympic athlete, you know, or you win a Nobel Prize.
Even they are constantly evolving and working, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what humans are. We're constantly evolving creatures, learning to develop and adapt to being in this life. So ultimately, there's no such thing as being perfect at anything because there's always room for improvement.
The thing I keep thinking about how this relates back to coaching, and how if you are for the first time, how valuable having somebody who's already sucked through a lot of those things can be to help you get to where you need to be so you don't suck. But at the same time, that person also has to be a good enough coach to realize that you do need to go through some of those things. They're basically just there to hold your hand and take you through the process. And I think that's why coaches are valuable.
Yeah.
100%. It's like, we don't have to go down this rabbit hole right now, but it's like some coaches, if they just one day decide to be a coach, they're going to suck, right? That's obvious. But what if they decide to be a coach after having a wealth of experience, like what Jake is talking about? That is the ticket to a better coach. Whereas right now, I think we're in this era of, like, everybody thinks they're a coach. Like, oh, I did a snatch one time, so I'm going to coach how to do a snatch. I think that's kind of where Jake was going with this. But if you spend years in the sport and then you become a coach, it's a completely different perspective because you've already battled through a lot of the things that your athletes are also going to battle through.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also, I like to believe that if we don't suck at anything, then there's no point in evolving, right? So it's like the idea, if you could live forever, is there a reason to wake up each day and try to better your life while you're in existence? Or do you just like sleep in every day knowing that there's always going to be a tomorrow? So it's okay to suck. Like, sucking is a part of evolving.
The other thing too is I think it helps to suck alongside some people as well. If you think about it, it actually kind of endears you to them and makes them kind of like you're a part of your tribe. Like, hey, I suck at this too.
Yeah.
Why don't we suck together?
You're humanizing everything. Yeah.
That's how I feel on the Wim Hof Facebook group.
Yeah. I think Brian.
It's like I'm right there with them. It's like like the freshman questions that always happen in everything ever, from weightlifting to everything that we coach, including this. So like the freshman question in Wim Hof breathing would be like, how many times do I have to breathe? And it's like, it tells you in the app type thing,
Yeah.
So then the people that comment on it are like, it tells you in the fucking app, just go do it. Like, actually try it before you ask a question. But then like I'm more along the lines of like the freshman question of like, my retention times still suck. And I've been doing this since freaking December. So why haven't they gotten better? So I don't know. It's interesting. All right, here's the next thing that I wanted to talk about, which is this was a fun way to do this, okay? And I didn't actually think of this until now. So, okay. One of the things I want to do with this podcast is make it bigger, okay? This podcast sucks because nobody listens to it. We suck at podcasting.
We do.
Okay?
Yeah.
So I'm researching how to make a better podcast. But literally right now you're watching us embrace the suck, and we're only on episode 28. Okay?
Yeah.
So, Joe Rogan's on 50 million.
But think about, he's been doing that for like 10 years now, right? Like, we're only here for, still in the double digits of episodes. So
do you know what I've done though to try to grow this podcast outside of our gym community? Nothing at all. That is the definition of suck. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think we have a lot of value to give people. I want other people to hear the podcast outside of the people that we've already coached. So we're going to make a proclamation right now. We're going to stop sucking and figure out how to make this podcast explode, because I think people like it, and I think it could be helpful to other people outside of the people we already coach. What do you guys think?
Totally.
I agree.
Yes, absolutely. I think people are looking for a genuine connection with podcasts, right? So if you can connect with people in a genuine, realistic way, then that's how you resonate with people. So in order to announce that we suck, we're just connecting with so many other people. You're resonating with all the people that suck at something.
And I would say if you suck, at least you're trying. I mean,
Oh yeah.
that you're doing better than somebody who's not even attempting at all. But it would be nice to not stop podcasting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that comes
right.
with experience and more episodes. So
Yep.
So let's end this one there. But first, a word from our sponsor, which is me. Me.
Oh.
Or I should say our company, Elevated Kinetics. Right now, this time only, if you call me by the end of the week, we have virtual training, personal training, customized programming, and Valhalla Barbell and nutrition programming all right now. All you have to do is email me, Brian, at elevatedkinetics.com, and I'll give you your first free coaching call where I will personally make a recommendation for how to go forward, even if you're not a good fit. Later.
later.